Hello everyone. Today we will learn the fourth chapter named the Indian Judicial System. If you remember, we had learned that there are three important pillars of democracy. And what are the three important pillars of democracy? The three important pillars of democracy are legislative, executive and judiciary. Okay, legislative means the Indian parliament, right? Executive, the team that brings the decision and they follow the decision. If you remember, we had learned about the parliamentary system in first chapter, right? In second chapter we had learned about the first pillar, that is the legislative. In third chapter we had learned about the second pillar, that is the executive. And in this fourth chapter we will learn about the third pillar, that is the Indian judicial system, or you can say judiciary. If you remember, we had learned legislative means to make law, executive means to implement the law. What to implement? To follow the law. And judicial system, they gives the judgment, they provide the justice to the people, or you can say the citizen. Being a citizen, being in a democratic nation, we are very much depend upon our judicial system. And for any kind of social justice and equality, judicial systems gives us the opportunity to raise our voice, to ask for our needs and demands. So in this chapter we will discuss how it functions and what are the objectives or the functions of the judicial system. If you remember, we had seen legislative and executive are dependent upon each other, but judicial system is not dependent upon either on legislative or the executive. It is very much important, right? If imagine if judicial system is depend upon the legislative or the executive, then the people with the high power or the people who are at the top position, they won't be get any kind of punishment because they control the judgment. But in this case we have a very fair and very kind of clear judgment for every citizen of our nation. So along with the legislature and the executive, the judiciary is also an important organ of the government. That's why it is called as an important pillar, because our democracy is dependent upon judiciary and executive or legislative also. While the legislature makes the law and execute implements the law, judiciary gives justice. In this chapter we will learn how judiciary works to give justice and thereby helps in removing injustice in a society, establishes a healthy society. But before that, let us understand why giving justice is necessary. If you give your own opinion why justice is necessary, because everyone in this system have the equal rights and equal value, so everyone have the scope to get an equal status. So in this sense, if any kind of hurdle or any kind of issues arises, then they can take the help of the judiciary system, right? Like how in legislative we have the parliament, in executive we have the ministers, or you can say prime minister or the council of minister. In the same way, in judicial system we have a system like, if you talk about the court, right, the topmost court we call it the apex court, it is the supreme court, and below that we have the high court. Then we have the session court, we have district court. Then depend upon the scenario or depend upon the case or depend upon the crime, the case is forwarded to the different court at the different level. And how it get function, who gives the decision, thus the decision was a fair decision or there is any kind of political or social pressure on the judges or the people who are involved in the cases. So in this chapter we will discuss about the same. Opinions, thoughts, perspective, beliefs, faith and culture differ from person to person. Yes, it is very much true. Not only in our nation, in every nation, even in family. If you talk about the nation, we have a huge population. But if you talk about the family, if we have a member of 4 to 5 in a family, again we all doesn't have the same thoughts or same beliefs. What does the perspective means? Perspective means ability to think. Your dad will think in a different way, your mom will think in a different way, you and your brother or sister will think in a different way. So imagine if we are living in a society, how we can say that every member of the society have a same opinion, same belief or same faith. So sometimes we get adjusted with the people, and when we are not get adjusted with the people, the issues arises, the disputes arises. Being a human nature, we adapt to the things. If you are not able to adapt, if you are not able to you can say survive, then the problem or the issues arises, and at that time we need the help from the judicial system. So opinions, thoughts, perspective, beliefs, faith and culture differ from person to person. If person are tolerant, what do I mean tolerant? Tolerant means if you can easily adapt anything or you can manage the situation, then you it is called as a tolerant, or you can say you are a tolerance, right? But if you are not adapting or if you are not managing with the situation, then it is called as a non-tolerant. And when this non-tolerance arises, it creates problem among the people or the members of the society. If people are tolerant, they can avoid conflict, right? सिंपल है ना. अगर आप छोटे छोटे इश्यूज को इग्नोर करते हो और आप लोगों के साथ में मिलजुल के रहते हो, तो प्रॉब्लम आएगा ही नहीं, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होंगे नहीं. कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कब होते हैं? जब हमारे व्यूज मैच नहीं करते हैं, हमारे आइडियाज मैच नहीं करते हैं, और हम जब लोगों को सपोर्ट नहीं करते हैं. सो if all are tolerant, then we don't have any issue. But if in case if we are not tolerant with the society or the members of the society, then the conflicts arises. But if differences of opinion are very sharp, they may lead to conflict. They should be resolved impartially and in accordance with the law. And if such issues or the disputes happen, that can be solved impartially. What is impartiality? Without any partiality. What does a partiality mean? Favorism. Not to give favor to any particular society or any particular individual or any people. Because the role of judiciary is very much important. They are not biased. Biased means वहाँ पे किसी का भी कोई पावर या कोई पहचान काम नहीं आता है. वहाँ पे कोई भी डिसीजन जो होते हैं वो एक जेन्युइन थॉट से या जेन्युइन रीजन से लिए जाते हैं. तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. They should be resolved impartially and in accordance with the law. If you know, in our constitution everything is mentioned. हर एक क्राइम के लिए हर एक लॉ, हर एक पनिशमेंट फिक्स्ड है, और उसी के बेसिस पे जजेस जो है अपना जजमेंट सुनाते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपका कास्ट, जेंडर, आपकी शक्ल, आपका इकोनॉमिक पावर, आपकी पहचान देकर जजमेंट दिया जाए. सबके लिए जो लॉ है वो सेम है. एंड फॉर दिस पर्पस an unbiased judicial machinery is required. Unbiased means which doesn't give any favorism to anyone. Conflict of interest may arise. Conflict means any kind of differences, fights, or because thoughts are different for the people. Conflicts of interest may arise between individuals and the government. A decision or law made by the government may seem unfair to people and they may approach the court for justice. When we can't manage our issues within ourselves, then we need to approach the court. Right? आपने देखा होगा ना, जब भी कोई ऐसे बड़े इश्यूज होते हैं, लोग एक दूसरे को क्या बोलते हैं? आई विल सी यू इन द कोर्ट. वॉट डज इट मीन? कि मुझे जस्टिस नहीं मिल रहा है एंड आई विल अप्रोच द कोर्ट ताकि मुझे जो मेरा जस्टिस है वो मिल सके. Conflicts of interest may arise between individuals and the government. A decision or law made by the government may seem unfair to people and they may approach to the court for justice. तो हमारा विश्वास होता है कि हमें जो जस्टिस है वो हमारे कोर्ट के थ्रू हमें मिलेगा. The government tries to implement the objectives. What are objectives? Aim. Government trying with the help of law. We had seen there are so many changes or so many improvements happens in law. The government tries to implement the objectives of social justice and equality laid down in the constitution. And with the help of constitution, government put the laws and the different developments or the changes that did with the law, so that everyone should follow the same kind of system. The judiciary, through its decision in certain cases or through active involvement, can support the government. The court can help to bring the weaker section of society women, children, differently abled and transgender into the mainstream of the society. And government trying to bring the people who are not get much support in the society into the mainstream. What a mainstream? Mainstream means they should also be the important part of our society by providing them the justice or the opportunity of job, opportunity of education. Maybe it's a kind of people who belongs to Dalit, or people who are differently able. What are differently able? You can say physically handicapped. हिंदी में कहते हैं ना अपंग. तो अभी आप सोचो, एक फिट इंसान है और एक बेचारा कोई अपंग है. हम बेचारा नहीं बोल सकते, क्योंकि अपंग के मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो बहुत ही हेल्पलेस है, राइट. बट क्या होता है, सोसाइटी के हर एक नीड्स को वो शायद फुलफिल नहीं कर पाए, तो ये सोसाइटी मेंबर्स की जिम्मेदारी है. गवर्नमेंट भी कोशिश करती है कि उनको एक सपोर्ट मिले ताकि वो भी एक लेवल तक ऊपर आ सके. When the common man benefits from the values of freedom, equality and justice, it leads to the widening and deepening of democracy. और जब कॉमन पीपल को उनको पूरे राइट्स मिलेंगे, पूरे पावर मिलेंगे, और वो अपनी सोसाइटी में अपने आप को सेफ फील करेंगे, तो कहीं ना कहीं उस कंट्री की जो डेमोक्रेसी है वो स्ट्रांग होगी और डीपनिंग होगी. डीपनिंग मतलब हम कहते हैं ना हिंदी में गहरा होना, तो ये क्या होगा, मजबूत होगा. हाउ वी कैन से a country like India follows the true democracy, because day by day we are improving lot. This is necessary for the strengthening of democracy, and it is very much important, because in today's time almost every nation is a democratic nation, but it is not true that every nation follows the democracy in a true sense. Because you can take an example of any country. For example, I am not against any nation, or we are not against any nation, we are just discussing and taking the example. For example, we all know China is also a democratic nation, right? We know the name of the China is Republic of China, but they actually not following the democracy. Even at Pakistan, we had a great example of North Korea. North Korea being a democratic nation, but people are not feeling themselves as safe in the country like North Korea. The rule of law is protected by the judiciary, right? Because judgment makes in a true sense gives importance to the law. ऐसा तो नहीं है हिंदूज के लिए अलग लॉ है, मुस्लिम्स के लिए अलग लॉ है, सिख के लिए अलग लॉ है, क्रिश्चियनिटी के लिए अलग लॉ है. ऐसा नहीं है. इफ यू गो एनी पार्ट ऑफ द नेशन यू विल गेट अ कॉमन लॉ. लाइक हाउ वी हैव सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एंड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. गवर्नमेंट के दो लेवल हैं, बट लॉ का ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. The rule of law is protected by the judiciary. The law treats everyone equally, rich, poor, forward, backward, men or women. Maybe कोई discrimination नहीं है. What does the discrimination means? भेदभाव. किसी में कोई भी भेदभाव नहीं होता है. Maybe it's rich, poor, educated, non-educated, men, women, fair, black. No, nothing, no difference at all. Rich, poor, forward, backward, men or women, all are equal before law, and this is expressed clearly through judicial decisions, and this all be shown by the judicial decisions. Judiciary helps to protect the rights of people. And why judiciary has been made? Judiciary helps to protect the rights of people. Conflicts are resolved in accordance with law, and law prevents emergence of repressive and authoritarian groups and individual. What are repressive? Repressive mean restricted freedom. क्या होता है, लॉ आपको एक तरह से आज़ादी देता है अपने राइट्स के डिमांड के लिए, बट एट द सेम टाइम यू आर रिस्ट्रिक्टेड. You are allowed to do so many things, but at the same time you are not allowed to do so many things also, right? In the same way, if you follow the procedure, if you follow the guidelines, or if you follow the law, then you won't face any kind of problem. For example, like we have the right to speak, right? It doesn't mean you can scold anyone. आप किसी को बुरा भला कह सकते हो ये बोलकर कि मुझे तो बोलने का हक है. Yes, you had the right to speak, but that should be in a proper manner, because in the society we need to give an equal respect to everyone. So judiciary helps to protect the rights of people. Conflicts are resolved in accordance with the law, and law prevents emergence of repressive and authoritarian groups and individuals. So it is very much important. Structure of the judiciary. What is the structure of judiciary? Just we discussed. There are different levels on the basis of the cases or the problems or the issues. India is a union of state. Yes, we have different states in our nation. The center and the constituent states have a separate legislative and executive. Yes, सेंटर का एक अलग लेवल है, स्टेट का अलग लेवल, जैसे हम बोलते हैं सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. बट देर इज वन जुडिशियल सिस्टम फॉर द होल ऑफ इंडिया. बट पूरी कंट्री में सेम जुडिशियल सिस्टम होते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि सेंट्रल लॉ कुछ और है, स्टेट लॉ कुछ और है. देर इज नो डिविजन ऑफ कोर्ट्स between the center and the constitution 8 states. This means that judiciary in India is an integrated system. Integrated means undivided, which cannot be separated. The Supreme Court is the apex court. Apex इसलिए बोलते हैं ना टॉप पे होता है. आपने पिरामिड देखा होगा. पिरामिड में कैसे जो ट्रायंगुलर शेप होता है, तो जो टॉप पोर्शन होता है उसको हम एपेक्स कहते हैं, एकदम टॉप पे. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो होता है वो सबसे टॉप कोर्ट है. हमें पता है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का डिसीजन फाइनल डिसीजन होता है. आपने देखा होगा बहुत सारी मूवी में या बहुत सारे न्यूज़ पेपर्स में आपने पढ़ा होगा, जैसे कोई केसेस होते हैं, अगर जो विक्टिम है उसे अगर कोई पनिशमेंट मिला है डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट से, तो शायद वो अप्लाई करे ऊपर के कोर्ट जैसे कि हाई कोर्ट में. फिर वो चाहे तो हाई कोर्ट से वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जा सकता है, पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के बाद कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है. राइट. The Supreme Court is the apex court under which there are high courts. The high court controls the district court. ये लेवल है ना, सबसे टॉप पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट, फिर हाई कोर्ट के नीचे डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट के नीचे रीजनल और जो लोकल कोर्ट होते हैं, सेशन कोर्ट्स होते हैं, वो होते हैं. द हाई कोर्ट कंट्रोल्स द डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट्स, फॉलोइंग विच देयर आर लोअर कोर्ट्स विच आर एट द बॉटम ऑफ द स्ट्रक्चर. ओके, उसके बाद जो लोअर कोर्ट आपने सेशन कोर्ट्स देखे होंगे, जो छोटे मोटे काम के लिए होते हैं, जो भी उनके यहाँ छोटे मोटे प्रोसीजर्स होते हैं वो फॉलो होते हैं. Let's begin with the Supreme Court because it's the most important judicial part of our nation. So जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट है उसका बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट रोल होता है हमारे कंट्री के डिसीजन और जजमेंट में. द चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया, इन शॉर्ट CJI, हेड्स द सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया. सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो हेड होता है वो हमारे कंट्री का चीफ जस्टिस भी होता है. आप समझ सकते हो पावर कैसे डिवाइड हुई है. राइट. जैसे हम प्रेसिडेंट की पावर कहते हैं, जैसे हम प्राइम मिनिस्टर की पावर कहते हैं, तो हमारे कंट्री का जो जुडिशियल पावर है किसके हाथ में होता है? चीफ जस्टिस के. तो उसे हम कहते हैं चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया, और वो क्या होते हैं? हेड ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट. The President appoints the Chief Justice of India and other judges of Supreme Court. As we all know, the important appointments are done by the President in our nation. हमने पढ़ा हुआ है, जैसे कि मिलिट्री चीफ हुए, या फिर हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर का अपॉइंटमेंट हुआ, इलेक्शन कमिश्नर का अपॉइंटमेंट हुआ, या और भी जो इंपॉर्टेंट अपॉइंटमेंट्स होते हैं वो हमारे प्रेसिडेंट ही करते हैं. तो वैसे ही जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जो जजेस होते हैं, एक तो जो मेन जज हैं जिसको हम चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया कहते हैं, जो सबसे टॉप पर है, उनका अपॉइंटमेंट हो, या फिर जो बाकी जजेस हो, सबका अपॉइंटमेंट हमारे प्रेसिडेंट ही करते हैं. The President appoints the Chief Justice of India and other judges of Supreme Court by convention. What is convention? Tradition. ये tradition है, ये एक तरह का सिस्टम बना हुआ है हमारे कंट्री में. By convention, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court is appointed as the Chief Justice. सिंपल बात है, जो भी सीनियर होता है उनको ही ये अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलती है, ये डेजिग्नेशन मिलता है. जैसे अपने स्कूल्स में देखते हैं, हमारे जो टीचर्स होते हैं थोड़े सीनियर होते हैं तो वो सुपरवाइज़र बन जाते हैं. सुपरवाइज़र जो होते हैं वो काफ़ी साल तक, जिनको अच्छी एक्सपीरियंस होती है, अच्छा नॉलेज होता है, वो प्रिंसिपल बन जाते हैं. तो एक लेवल इसी तरह से होता है. इवन हमने पॉलिटिक्स में भी देखा हुआ है ना, पहले लोकल लेवल पे होते हैं, फिर वो थोड़े MLA बनते हैं, फिर वो MP बनते हैं, फिर वो मिनिस्टर्स बनते हैं, फिर आगे जाके वो प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स भी बन सकते हैं. सो बिकॉज ऑफ द इट्स अ ट्रेडिशन, इट्स अ ट्रेंड. The judiciary should not work under any kind of pressure. Yes, it is very much important. Judiciary should not work any kind of pressure. The independence of the judiciary is maintained so as to enable the judges to fearlessly carry out the function of giving justice. So it is very much important. Judges को भी importance मिलता है ना, मतलब वो justice जो है बिना कोई डर के दे सके. हम बहुत सारी मूवी देखते हैं ना कि जैसे जजेस हैं, उनके किसी फैमिली मेम्बर को किडनैप कर लिया, तो जजेस को फोर्स करते हैं कि नहीं, आप डिसीजन जो है वो हमारे फेवर में दो, अगर हमारा जो इंसान वो गलत है फिर भी आप उसको रिलीज़ करो. तो ऐसा कुछ प्रोटेक्शन होना चाहिए और जजेस को सिस्टम से दूर रखना चाहिए ताकि वो अपना जजमेंट फियरलेसली दे सके. और एक सफिशिएंट उनकी सैलरी होनी चाहिए ताकि वो ब्राइब ना ले, रिश्वत ना ले, और उनको पैसे का लालच ना हो. For this purpose, the Constitution has made the following provision. And for this purpose, our Constitution has made the following provision. What is the provision? Provision means a certain kind of arrangement or the system. Like the Constitution lays down the eligibility criteria for the judges. There is a certain kind of eligibility criteria. अभी सोचो जो हाई कोर्ट के जजेस होंगे, जो बहुत सारा एक्सपीरियंस होंगे, फिर उनको सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ट्रांसफर करते होंगे, क्योंकि उनके बैक डिसीजंस भी देखते होंगे कि उन्होंने पास्ट में कौन से डिसीजन लिए थे, उनके ऊपर कोई क्रिमिनल चार्जेस इन द सेंस या कोई एलिगेशंस ना हो कि ये जज तो बहुत ही रिश्वतखोर है, ऐसा कुछ ना हो. तो जिनका अच्छा नेचर है या जिनका जजमेंट बहुत ही अच्छा है, फिर उनको आगे प्रमोशन देके उनको टॉप लेवल पर लाते हैं. The Constitution lays down the eligibility criteria for the judges. A legal expert or one having served as High Court judge or an experienced advocate is considered eligible. So जो उस फील्ड में काफ़ी एक्सपीरियंस होते हैं, जिनके पास अच्छा नॉलेज होता है, उनको ही आगे नॉमिनेट करते हैं और उनको ही अपॉइंट करते हैं. Judges are appointed by the president. This helps to avoid any political pressure. And judges are appointed by the president, so it doesn't have any kind of political pressure. नहीं तो क्या होता है, आपने देखा है ना पॉलिटिक्स में क्या होते हैं, जो मिनिस्टर्स होते हैं वो फेवरिज्म के लिए अपने पहचान वालों को या अपने रिश्तेदारों को ही हायर पोस्ट पर अपॉइंट करवाते हैं, जिससे उनका काम आसान हो. तो ट्रांसपेरेंसी होगी और फेयर डिसीजन होगा, तो इससे सबको बेनिफिट मिलेगा. तो ये सब सारी चीज़ें जो है वो हाई लेवल पे बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से हमारे कंट्री में होते हैं. जजेस एंजॉय सिक्योरिटी ऑफ टेन्योर. सिक्योरिटी टेन्योर मतलब उनको अपने जॉब की सिक्योरिटी होती है. इट इज़ वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट. इफ जजेस आर प्रेशर, हाउ वी आर सीन इन सो मेनी मूवीज, कैसे अगर कोई ईमानदार पुलिस ऑफिसर होता है, इफ ही टेक्स एनी एक्शन अगेंस्ट एनी पावरफुल पर्सन, देन ही गेट्स सस्पेंडेड or maybe he got a transfer. So in the fear of such things, they don't give a proper kind of investigation, right? So in the same way, if the judges have the fear of the job, so they will also can't give the proper decision, but they have the security of tenure. For example, a judge is appointed for a particular period, then he can serve as a judge for that tenure. So in this way, they can do their job fearlessly. Judges enjoy security of tenure. They cannot be removed from the post for trivial reasons or for political motives. So politics का इसमें कोई भी मतलब नहीं है. The retirement age of judges of the Supreme Court is 65 years, while for the High Court is the 62 years. So the retirement age for the judges of Supreme Court is 65 years, and for the High Court it is 62 years. The salaries of judge are drawn from the कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया. सो जो सैलरीज भी मिलती है वो सैलरी कहाँ से मिलती है, डायरेक्ट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से मिलती है इन द कंसोलिडेटेड फंड. व्हाट इज कंसोलिडेटेड कलेक्टेड, जो भी गवर्नमेंट के पास फंड्स आते हैं ना टैक्सेस से या जो भी उनके अलग अलग प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं, तो उनमें से फंड मिलता है, जिससे कोई भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी किसी भी जज को या किसी को फेवरिज्म नहीं कर सके. द सैलरीज ऑफ जजेस आर ड्रॉन फ्रॉम द कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया. नो डिस्कशन टेक्स प्लेस इन पार्लियामेंट. सो जजेस की सैलरी, उनके डेजिग्नेशन के बारे में कोई भी डिस्कशन पार्लियामेंट में नहीं होता है. पर्सनल क्रिटिसिज्म. व्हाट इज क्रिटिसिज्म? क्रिटिसिज्म इज अ काइंड ऑफ expressing disapproval when you are not happy with any kind of system or any decision, so you will criticize this. क्रिटिसाइज करना मतलब कोई बुराई नहीं होती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कोई डिसीजन है जिससे आप सेटिस्फाइड नहीं हो, तो आप अपने व्यू बता सकते हो कि नहीं ये मुझे मंजूर नहीं है, आई एम नॉट एग्रीड टू इट. सो इट डजेंट मीन इट इज द क्रिटिज्म. सो जजेस जो भी डिसीजन लेते हैं ना, उस पर कोई पर्सनल क्रिटिज्म नहीं हो सकते कि नहीं वो जजेस ने उसको. रिमेंबर, इफ जज गिव्स एनी डिसीजन, if you remember, like last year we had a great issue of the decision regarding the temple at Ayodhya, right? That decision was pended for so many years. So you can imagine the pressure on the judge. If judge gives any decision in the favor of Hinduism, in favor of Hindus, then Muslim will simply say that कि भाई ये तो जानबूझ से जज ने किया. If judge takes the decision on behalf of Muslim, then Hindu will say कि भाई जज ने तो गलत किया. So they need to take a fair decision, and after that decision there should be no any personal criticism, because it's their responsibility to view the scenario and give their justice. The personal criticism cannot be made on judges for their acts and decision. Contempt of court. What a contempt? Contempt means not following the rules, not following the you can say the decisions or the guidelines is considered as a punishable offense. You had seen in so many movies, there's a courtroom scenario or courtroom scene when any person talks in between, then judges warns them that it is a kind of contempt of court. You are not following the rules of the court, and if you repeat it, then you will be thrown out. And if you do any mischievous act or any mischievous thing, then you will also be punished, right? आपने देखा होगा वो एक प्रोसीजर होता है जो फॉलो करना होता है, कोई कुछ भी नहीं बोल सकता है, कोई किसी को वहां पे ब्लेम नहीं कर सकता है, राइट? This not only protects the judges from misguided, wrongful criticism, but also preserve the independence of the judiciary. And this kind of power provides a kind of a great system in our country that regards with the judicial system. The parliament cannot discuss the decision of the judge. जज ने जो भी डिसीजन लिया वो पार्लियामेंट में डिस्कस नहीं होते हैं. However, it has the right to remove the judges from their position through the impeachment procedure. You may remember the impeachment. Impeachment याद है, जहाँ पे हमने देखा कि impeachment से हम प्राइम मिनिस्टर और प्रेसिडेंट को भी निकाल सकते हैं अगर किसी कुछ एलिगेशंस है. What are allegations? Allegations means any kind of charges, or the in Hindi we call it ilzam. So there is a certain procedure when people will raise their voice against any political party or any political leader or even the judges. So there should be an impeachment process, and after that the person can be removed from their post. Next is judicial activism. What is judicial activism? Traditionally, the courts settle the disputes whenever they are approached for that purpose. It's a tradition, it's a trend. Whenever the courts are approached, for example, if we have any issues, we go to the court and court tries to give the proper resolution. Traditionally, the courts settle the disputes wherever they are approached for that purpose. In the last few decades, this image of the court has undergone a change and they have become increasingly active. If you see in the last few decades, in the last few years, the image, the decisions from the court has been improved, and the common people had gained more faith on the procedure of the court. The court has tried to improve legal protection to the marginalized sections in the society. Marginalized sections means the people who are considered as the Dalits or who are not the part of the society in the past. Women, tribal, workers, farmers and children. Even the public interest litigations have played an important role in this regard. What are litigations? Litigations mean taking any legal action. We will come to that. We have a paragraph about the public interest litigation. In short, it is called as PIL. So litigation means taking legal action. For example, if you have any issues, you can file the legal, what you can say, a charge, and you will get to know about the decisions or the proceedings of that case. So in this way, common people also have the right to know much about any case or the decision with the help of PIL. Okay, we will have that paragraph in further. Next, the functions of the Supreme Court. What are the functions of Supreme Court? Being the apex court, being the important court, what kind of function it plays? As a federal court, federal means independent, because Supreme Court gives a decision independently. किसी का कोई pressure नहीं. It has the responsibility to settle disputes between the center and the states on one side and states on the other side. It may also give orders to relevant authorities for protection of the fundamental rights of citizen. Even Supreme Court can give the decision to any kind of group or any kind of organization if they are not following this system for the common people. To review decrees and orders. What is decrees? Decrees means official order. डिक्रीज मीन्स ऑफिशियल ऑर्डर. जैसे कि अभी हमें पता है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में क्या लिखा हुआ है या गवर्नमेंट ने नया क्या लॉ इंट्रोड्यूस किया. अगर कोई सिस्टम या कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या कोई इंडिविजुअल लॉ फॉलो नहीं कर रहा है तो उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कराना है और गलत इंसान को सज़ा देनी है. टू रिव्यू डिक्रीज एंड ऑर्डर्स ऑफ द लोअर कोर्ट्स एंड ऑल्सो रिव्यू इट्स ओन डिसीजन. मैनी टाइम में हैपन ना कि लोअर कोर्ट्स के डिसीजन भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पास आते हैं तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट को वो डिसीजन देखने पड़ते हैं. In case the president asks for the advice of the court to understand the legal aspects in matter of public importance and provide the necessary advice. Many times it discuss the issues with the president because Supreme Court never thought that to create an unfavorable situation in our country. Like how we take the example of Ayodhya case, right? If Supreme Court can take any decision which will not be in a favor of the common people, then there was a kind of a tension in the nation. This should not happen. So it is very important things that needs to be viewed, or that needs to be followed with the help of Supreme Court, or you can say with the help of Apex Court. Understood? Very much clear the function and the work of the Supreme Court? Good.